Okay, fine, I like them, but I do think that they might be getting out of hand. I've been studying for coding interviews about 6 hours a day for the past week, and I'm gonna continue doing so for like the next few months. So for starters, I just wanna say that I'm not good at lead code or algorithmic questions. I definitely have the potential to be, but I haven't studied very much yet, and I know that I'm going to have to study a ton to be good at it. But I will defend them. Literally no one's gonna listen to me. My hair makes me look like a crackhead right now. I will defend them, and I do think that they are probably the best way to interview candidates. And I've thought about this a lot, but here's how I see things. So a company's hiring you based on your ability to one day become a senior engineer, right? And a senior engineer definitely does need to know this stuff. And yes, you're not really using it on the job. Like, you're not gonna be reversing a linked list or coming up with these efficient two-pointer solutions. I understand that, but I don't see it as how you're doing something in a practical sense. I see it as how it's training your subconscious. Me personally, ever since doing lead code, I've become a much better engineer. Like, even when I'm just making games and fucking around, I'll write a function to do something, and I'll think to the back of my head, I'd be like, oh, this is n squared. And normally, that thought wouldn't really pop into my mind. I would just go on with my day. I'd be like, okay, this works, cool, let's move on. But now I'll look at it and be like, oh, this is n squared. Maybe I could do this in a better way, and I'll find a more efficient way to do it. Like, doing something that works versus doing something that's optimal, it is such a difference. And maybe on your average job, everything's so abstracted that you're not really the one making those decisions. Those are all taken care of by libraries. But you need to know which libraries to use, right? You need to know which data structures you want to use. And I do believe that good engineers, even if they're not good at these interviews yet, I believe that if they truly are good engineers, they can study and become good at these interviews. Because it's pretty expensive for a company to hire a candidate who's not very good, right? I think out of the two errors, companies would prefer the one where they don't hire someone who maybe did deserve to get hired versus they hire someone who didn't deserve to get hired. And I think with every other approach for interviewing I've heard so far, the scenario where you hire someone who isn't really qualified is so much more prevalent. For example, projects or take-home assignments, pretty easy to cheat. You could have someone else do it for you, or you could spend 20 hours on something that could have taken you 5 hours and they would have no way to tell the difference. And I also think that these coding interviews have made it possible for everyone to get into a good company. Because if they didn't have these coding interviews, what would they look at? They would look at what school you go to. They would look at your GPA. So if you're not going to Stanford, if you're not going to Harvard, you're kind of fucked. So me, as someone who doesn't go to an Ivy League school, I just go to Arizona State University, like a low mid-tier state school. Without these coding interviews, I would have no chance at a company like Facebook. Like, who are you gonna hire? Some ASU kid or some Stanford kid, right? But because of these interviews, we're both given a fair chance. Like, I've gotten interviews at Facebook and Bloomberg last year. Granted, I failed them, but I know that if I had studied harder, I would have actually been able to get into those companies. I know people at Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, all from Arizona State University. I really do believe it levels out the playing field. It kind of annoys me that interns and like experienced grads kind of have the same interview process, but at the same time, I don't know who that's more unfair for. Like, on one hand, for interns, like, we're literally kids, right? Like, we shouldn't have to know as much as an experienced dev. But on the other hand, an experienced dev is probably an adult with a family, and they're not gonna have time to do coding prep interview, while college students probably can devote a lot of time to coding prep. And also, you know, it's kind of relevant to what we're learning in our classes too. So overall, I really do support coding interviews as a concept, but I don't know, lately I think it is getting a little out of hand. So every company seems to be doing this thing called like code signals now. I've gotten it for 3 companies so far. It seems like every year they're just increasing the steps to filter out students automatically. Like, now companies are doing online assessment 1, and if you score really high on that, you can get into online assessment 2. If you score really high on that, then you can get the phone screen, then you can get the second phone screen, and finally you can get the on-site. And if you pass all of that, then you can get into the company. That is so extreme, especially for an internship. And my biggest problem is a lot of it really just depends on luck too. Like, I've read stories of people taking code signal, getting 840 one day and getting 780 the next day when they're like the same skilled person. I also think there's quite a bit of luck in the phone screen part as well. Not because, I mean, I think someone who's qualified can probably pass most interviews, but a lot of unqualified people are actually passing interviews because, you know, they're going to the company on LeetCode, filtering by the company's questions. Like, what if you learned the 50 most common questions asked by Facebook, and during all of your interviews you actually got questions asked straight from there? You might not be a qualified candidate, but you would have still gotten in, right? Unless if someone else did that and they didn't get asked any questions that were on the LeetCode Facebook section. I don't know what the solution is. Overall, I think this is just a game that you gotta play. I've personally been really stressed out about it, but I will keep studying and hopefully one day I'll be there. But that's enough of that rant. Let's get into my progress so far. I'm gonna talk about the progress I've made since my last vlog. These vlogs are all continuous, and yes, this is a vlog, so you should watch all of these. Okay, cool. Hey, what's up? It's Casey Neistat, except when he picks up his camera, he's walking around New York City and I'm walking around my room. Okay, a few updates. First of all, I think I have a routine figured out for my life, and second of all, I'm going to be doing stand-up comedy. Let me talk about the stand-up comedy first. So I realized something. If you can perform stand-up comedy, you can do anything. Like, the balls it takes to go up to a club and just bomb. So keep watching the vlogs, and maybe in like a month or two, once I'm done with my material and I practiced it enough, I'll go to an open mic, perform my first set, and inevitably do horrible because everyone bombs their first time. Have I routined my life? No. But I've made progress. So I have this little life hack. Well, I mean, I accidentally discovered it 3 days ago. There's this website called Pramp, where it's basically mock interviews for like coding shit. So basically you schedule these, and if you don't show up, nothing really happens. You're kind of just an asshole though. So I've been scheduling mine at 6 p.m. and I go to sleep at like 10 to 11 p.m. Normally I would sleep past 6 p.m. But these last 2 days, at around like 5:59, I'd look at my phone and I'd be like, fuck, I gotta wake up right now. I would like jolt out of bed and immediately get on my computer and do a LeetCode question. Alright, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the Prem thing was just not working out. I hate waking up at the same time every day. So, let's move on to my next idea. What if I slept 8 hours every day, but stayed awake for 17 hours every day? I know what you're thinking. What? That's 25 hours. How would that make sense? Basically, I'll stay awake 17 hours every day, which means I'm basically just sleeping an hour later than the previous day, so my life would just continue to be in cycles. But I think I would just function better that way. Start with this little Python script. Basically, you just tell it when you woke up and it just plans out the entire day for you. Alright, time for internship updates. So I've got this list up to about 46 places now, which is a lot more than it was last episode. The downside is I still don't have any interviews, which sucks ass, dude. I just want some interviews. I did get some coding challenges though, but I mean, I'm quite certain Citadel sends it to literally everyone, and I'm pretty sure Robinhood also sends it to everyone, so those don't really count. I got rejected from BlackRock, which I don't care. I hate this company. And I got a coding challenge from Samsara, which I haven't done yet. I hope they didn't send this one to everyone. That would probably make me pretty sad. But yeah, so these are all going to be on Code Signal, so I got to do that soon. Yeah, so I'll keep you guys updated if I get any interviews.